Have you ever wondered what truly happens to the soul of a Taurus once the noise of ambition fades, and the stillness of age begins to speak? There comes a time in life not marked by years, but by depth, when we no longer chase the world, but begin to listen to it. If you are a Taurus, or love someone who is, what you are about to hear may shift the way you see aging, not as a decline, but as a sacred unfolding. In this video, we will journey into the quiet power of Taurus after 60. Why their slowness is not weakness but wisdom. Why their silence holds more stories than words ever could. And how, in embracing their true nature, they become a lighthouse for those lost in a storm. This is not just another horoscope. This is a reflection, a path. And I invite you to walk it with me, all the way to the end. Before we begin, take a moment to breathe. Then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your reflections in the comments below. Because what you're about to discover is not only rich in meaning, it may very well help you understand the Taurus in your life, or the Taurus within yourself. As the Taurus soul steps gently into the later chapters of life, a quiet transformation unfolds, one that does not seek attention, yet radiates a profound depth. Taurus, an earth sign ruled by Venus, is known for its unwavering stability, its rootedness in the tangible, and its subtle devotion to beauty and comfort. And after 60, when the haste of ambition fades and the noise of societal expectation softens, these qualities ripen like a fruit in the late summer sun. Taurus no longer hurries. Time is no longer a currency to be spent, but a companion to walk with slowly, mindfully. In Buddhist practice, we often speak of sati mindfulness not as a technique, but as a way of being. The mature Taurus embodies this. In the way they sip tea without rush, tend to a garden with bare hands in the soil, or prepare a simple meal with quiet gratitude, they are practicing presence without needing to call it so. These are not tasks to them, but sacred rituals. They do not yearn for grand adventures or loud accomplishments, for they have tasted the outer world, and now return to the inner one. This, too, is a journey, one of inward unfolding. There is a teaching from the Buddha: peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Taurus elders live this truth. They may spend an afternoon in silence, listening to the rain tapping gently on the roof, or feel joy simply from the fragrance of bread rising in the oven. They do not measure life by the number of milestones, but by the quiet weight of a moment well lived. What once may have seemed mundane now holds meaning. A bird landing on the windowsill. The warmth of sunlight on an old wooden chair. These are no longer overlooked, they are deeply received. In their youth, perhaps Taurus sought comfort in possession, in certainty, in the known. But age, as a gentle teacher, shows them that true stability lies not in what we can hold, but in what we can surrender to. A Taurus after 60 is like a stone smoothed by water, strong, but softened. They know that life cannot be controlled, only witnessed. They do not speak often of wisdom, yet their way of being reveals it. They do not preach simplicity, they live it. Taurus teaches that joy does not need spectacle. There is beauty in a well-worn book, in the scent of lavender, in a walk at dusk when the world grows quiet. These are the forms of contentment that do not glitter but glow gently from within. And in this stillness, there is a kind of fulfillment that cannot be bought or forced, it is simply allowed to blossom. It is the deep knowing that enough is, indeed, enough. As Buddhist monks often reflect, the greatest wealth is contentment. The Taurus elder is wealthy, not in gold, but in groundedness. They do not chase serenity, they sit with it. And in doing so, they invite others to slow down, to listen, and to remember that the sacred is not hidden in faraway temples, but in the rhythm of daily life, when touched with presence. Yet even the earth, though steady, knows the tremble of change. For Taurus, whose nature is to preserve, to hold, to cherish what is familiar. The journey beyond 60 can be both peaceful and quietly turbulent. The deeper challenges they face are not external, but arise from within the slow unraveling of attachments that once felt essential to their identity. One of the most persistent traits of the Taurus spirit is its firm resistance to change. This can be a virtue when it grants them loyalty, consistency, and groundedness. But in the autumn of life, when impermanence becomes more visible, when the body changes, relationships evolve, and familiar routines are disrupted, this same resistance can harden into stubbornness. The Taurus elder may cling tightly to old patterns, reluctant to try new things, even when those very things might bring growth or ease. In Buddhism, we call this upna grasping. And where there is grasping, suffering follows. Another quiet struggle is the fear of losing what once brought comfort. Taurus finds safety in the known, the old chair, the family photo, the scent of a place lived in for decades. But life, in its essence, is ever-flowing. Children move away, friends pass on, health may waver. Each loss, each shift, feels like an earthquake beneath their otherwise solid ground. The challenge is not merely to endure these losses, but to embrace them as part of the natural ebb and flow. As the Buddha taught, all that is dear to me will become different from me and separated from me. This is not a truth to be feared, but one to be understood deeply, and accepted with grace. There is also a gentle sorrow that can come from emotional reticence. Taurus, while warm and loyal, often keeps their deepest feelings close to the chest. They do not easily reveal their grief, their fears, or even their longings. In their later years, this tendency toward self-containment may create a distance between them and those they love most. Their silence is not rejection but a habit, shaped by years of inner protection. And yet, this silence can lead others to misunderstand, to assume they are aloof or uninterested. The real work here is softening, not in body, but in heart. But let us not see these as flaws. These are the sacred challenges placed on the path of the Taurus elder, not as punishments, but as invitations. Invitations to release the weight of the past. Invitations to open the hand that grips too tightly. Invitations to speak, to feel, to share. In this way, the last chapters of their life become not a quiet ending, but a deeper blossoming. Just as the lotus grows through mud, the Taurus soul, through these trials, finds its own liberation. With each act of letting go of a fixed belief, a fading memory, a well-worn habit, they move closer to the wisdom the Buddha spoke of: let go of what was, accept what is, and have faith in what will be. And so, their real strength is revealed not in how tightly they hold on, but in how gently they learn to release. There comes a time in life when strength is no longer measured by how much we can carry, but by how gently we can let things be. For the Taurus soul, the years after 60 offer a profound opportunity not to resist the turning of time, but to lean into it with grace. The same qualities that once made Taurus a pillar of stability in their youth, persistence, patience, and sensual awareness, now become tools for a deeper kind of awakening. One of the most healing paths for Taurus in later life is the practice of mindfulness through meditation and the art of living slowly. Taurus does not need speed. Their nature has always leaned toward rhythm, toward stillness. When they sit in silence, breathing with the earth, they do not seek to escape. They seek to return to themselves. Meditation allows them to rest in their own presence, to soften the inner grip of control, and to experience peace not as an idea, but as a direct, embodied truth. Creative expression also becomes a sanctuary. Whether through writing in a journal, sketching the quiet outlines of memory, or composing simple verses of poetry, Taurus finds a gentle release. These acts are not for display. They are not driven by ambition. They are the language of the heart, spoken softly into the quiet. In Buddhism, we say, when the heart is full, the cup overflows. And for the elder Taurus, this overflow finds form in colors, in words, in beauty made by hand. Nature, too, continues to call them. Perhaps now more than ever. A walk through a forest trail, the sound of birdsong in early dawn, or the scent of rain upon dry leaves, these are not pastimes, they are teachings. The natural world reflects the inner landscape of Taurus. Solid yet soft. Predictable, yet always evolving. When Taurus immerses themselves in nature, they are not escaping the world, they are reuniting with it. And lastly, there is a quiet nobility in passing on wisdom. Taurus does not often speak in lofty terms. But their life itself, their patience, their simplicity, their ability to find joy in what is ordinary becomes a silent teaching. By sharing their stories, their mistakes, their insights, they become a bridge between generations. They do not preach. They offer. And in their offering, the fire of presence is passed on like a candle lighting another, without losing its flame. In their later years, Taurus learns that maturity is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more fully who they have always been. Rooted, real, and quietly radiant. There was once an elderly man named Haruto, a quiet Taurus who had lived most of his life in the countryside, where the hills met the sky and the days passed like falling leaves, slow, steady, and full of unspoken beauty. In his younger years, Haruto was known for his hands, strong, reliable hands that built houses, planted trees, and held together a family through seasons of hardship. He rarely spoke of emotions. He preferred to show his love in bowls of warm rice, in roofs that never leaked, in silence that carried care. He was, as many Taurus souls are, a quiet force, steady as the earth beneath his feet. But after turning 60, life began to shift. His children moved to distant cities. His wife, the one he had shared countless meals and seasons with, passed on peacefully one spring morning. The house grew quieter. The garden, once bursting with laughter and muddy footprints, now listened only to birds and wind. At first, Haruto resisted the silence. He clung to old routines, kept her teacup in place, folded the towels the same way she used to. Change felt like betrayal. The past was familiar, the future, unclear. But one evening, as he sat on the porch watching the sky darken into violet, something in him softened. The air was cool. The kettle whistled. And he thought, perhaps stillness is not emptiness, but space to begin again. He began waking up earlier, not out of habit, but reverence. He took long walks through the woods. He started writing short reflections in a little brown notebook, not for anyone else, but to understand the voice within him. He picked up an old brush and began painting his garden, not to capture it, but to honor it. And when his granddaughter visited, he would smile and tell her stories, not with grand morals, but with quiet warmth that made her eyes widen and her heart rest. One day she asked, "Grandpa, how did you get so peaceful?" And he simply said, "I stopped trying to fix the past. I started loving the moment I was in." This is the journey of Taurus after 60. To realize that strength does not lie in holding on, but in learning when to release. That life, like soil, becomes fertile after it has been tilled, broken open, softened by time. That beauty is not in loud declarations, but in the rhythm of tea pouring into a cup, the smell of ripe fruit, the feeling of wind brushing through open windows. For Taurus, growing old is not a fading, it is a grounding. Not a loss but a deepening. Not an end but a return. And in that return, there is peace. And so, Dear friend, the Taurus soul, once driven to build, to hold, to protect, now learns the gentle art of letting go. They do not burn out. They slow down, like a river that finally finds its way back to the ocean. In that stillness, there is beauty. In that rootedness, there is truth. If you are a Taurus after 60, know this. You are not fading, you are deepening. You are not behind, you are becoming. You are not alone, you are returning to yourself. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to pause and leave a comment below. What resonated with you? What reflections came up? Let's begin a conversation that matters. And if you've found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who walks a similar path. Because sometimes, all it takes is one quiet voice to remind another that they are not walking alone. Until our next journey, may you walk gently. May you breathe fully. And may your roots grow deep in peace.